So this past weekend I was at the 2012 Baltimore Comic Con, and it's my second year doing the show, so my review is going to be kind of from the perspective of a newbie, because my experiences probably don't reflect similar experiences from long-time artists who do the show all the time. But anyway, so it was pretty cool. It seemed to me that there were a lot more artists than there were last year, but I didn't really get a chance to walk around and see the show much last year. The artist alley had this big wall right in the middle of it, and they had some of the more well-known artists on either side of this wall, but it felt like there were really two sections of the artist alley. There was the main section, which is where a lot of the more popular cartoonists were, and they got a lot of foot traffic, and then there was the desert area where the rest of us were. It was kind of like purgatory, right next to the food court, which is never a good place to have a table. We were in front of the Stan Lee experience, which just meant that we got a lot of foot traffic, but nobody interested in looking at any of our stuff. So we saw a lot of people, but they were all waiting in line for Stan. So as a result, I made fewer sales than I did last year, but I don't necessarily attribute that to the wall, because it was really strange. Sunday, we actually got more foot traffic than we did Saturday. Usually it's the other way around. So I guess people realized that there was this desert area behind this wall of doom and kind of hung out there and checked stuff out there on Sunday. So that was pretty cool. In general, I like the vibe of the show. It's got a really creator-friendly feeling to it. The attendees are, they're great fun. You got people of all ages, all walks of life, and a lot of them are interested in new content, which is great for an independent cartoonist like myself. So I got a lot of people interested in flipping through my stuff, walking by. There was actually a woman I met who, the night before the convention, spent her entire evening looking up names on the guest list and trying to find ones with webcomics. And she flipped through a whole bunch of my comics before the night before, and so when she got to me, she was like, "Oh, it's you! I recognize you!" So that was really cool. I find in general that webcomic readers tend to, when they find a new webcomic, they kind of sit there and they archive dive the entire thing for like 2 or 3 hours. I've done the same thing with webcomics that I now follow regularly, so it's not quite surprising. But that's kind of cool, because you have that access to the backlog without having to spend, hundreds and hundreds of dollars. Like, no one picks up a Spider-Man and says, "Oh shit, I've got to collect all the old Spider-Mans." So in that respect, I think us web cartoonists have a little edge up on some of the more traditional published cartoons or comics and things like that. But it was a lot of fun. One thing that I've noticed, the more and more I do conventions, costuming and cosplay has gotten a lot better in recent years than ever before. Like, I remember a couple of years ago when I first started doing conventions, we had people dressing up, and the costumes were cool. The costumes are always cool. I like cosplay. But man, the amount of detail that people are putting into their stuff these days is fucking amazing. It's amazing. It's this whole new industry that's kind of grown up. We saw this one guy who had the perfect Thor costume. It wasn't movie Thor with like the flashy armors and things like that, but it was just like, a good solid Thor, like you would expect to see a real life Thor just walking around. And he wasn't like super muscular and like overbuilt like a bodybuilder. He just a solid dude. And his friend walked up to us, is like, "You should ask him about his hammer." And so we said, "Hey, Thor, your friend told us to ask you about your hammer." So he picks it out of his belt, hands it to me. I grab it with one hand. And I have to hold it with both because it's a solid block of steel, like 30-pound steel Mjolnir that he had hand forged somehow years ago before the movie. And he's just walking around like it's a paperweight. So it's fucking huge. I should have gotten his name because this guy was amazing, but he had the best Thor costume I'd seen all weekend. But yeah, costumes in general, fucking awesome. One thing that I guess is sort of becoming a pet peeve with me is that a number of people have these vertical banners. They have nice weighted stands at the bottom and like a little pole in the back, and you raise it up. And they're all high quality, but the problem is the banners are usually behind the table. Your table goes up to about your waist or a little below the waist. And a lot of times people with these professional banners will have like a full banner illustration with a lot of detail on the bottom half of the banner, and they'll put their URL and their name at the bottom of the banner, which is fine when you're looking at it on a computer, but when your banner is behind the table, no one can see that shit. So unless you put your banner out in front of the table, if you are going to design a banner for your stuff that's vertical, and you're contemplating doing something like that, ignore the bottom half. Waist down. No one's gonna see that shit because it's gonna be behind the table. You don't necessarily want to put it in front of the table because you're getting rid of table space. So if you have this banner in front, sure, people can see the URL at the bottom and the feet that you spent all that time drawing, but you're blocking yourself off from table space, and it's kind of annoying. It works if you have a corner table. So if you have a corner table, you can actually stick the banner out on the corner or out to the side or something like that, and you give yourself some extra room, which is really nice, but you can't always guarantee that. So if you are going to design signage for your comic, if you're at that point where you think that that's going to help your presence at a convention, keep that shit in mind. Keep that in mind. You don't necessarily want to do anything below a certain point. Or you could do it like an Easter egg kind of thing, I don't know, put a funny joke on the bottom, like a little monster poking his head out, yeah, you can't see me, or like a hide and seek Easter egg or something like that. I mean, that could be cool. I haven't seen anyone do that. You should do that if you do that. But in general, I think it's fair game to ignore the bottom half. Another thing that I've started to, this is an idea that my friend Dern from Hello with Cheese and Scallywags and Dernworks and all that, he has decided not to sell t-shirts at shows anymore. Now, for the longest time, t-shirt sales were a sure thing for indie cartoonists to make money. I mean, the cost per shirt is relatively low enough so that if you sell it for, the going rate for shirts is $20, you get a really good return on that. But the problem is when you go to a show, unless you order a lot of shirts, you're going to run out of sizes. And that's annoying to deal with because you're losing sales. The more shirts you sell, the better, but it also means you're running out of sizes. And so later in the convention, say Sunday at the last minute, if people are trying to get sizes and you don't have them, that's really annoying because you're losing sales. And they say, oh, sure, I'll go to your website and buy that shirt because I think it's awesome, but they're not going to fucking go to your website and buy that shirt because they're going to forget. So Dern has decided to stop selling shirts at shows and only sell them online. The other reason he's doing that is because he has a shit ton of merchandise. His entire table is full of stuff. There's no way you could fit stacks and stacks of shirts on there. But that's another thing. But yeah, so he's stopped selling shirts, and I don't have that many shirts to begin with. I don't do a lot of shirt designs. I don't think I have that knack. I have a few shirts up on Shark Robot that people can check out on the website and all that kind of stuff. But I just don't have enough to just take up table space and stock them like that. So I'm clearancing all the shirts that I have now and trying to get them off the table so that I can concentrate on putting other stuff out there. I also need to get other stuff. I've got the Earthworld book and I've got the Yellow Peril book, and I'm also considering putting up some sketches and illustrations, and I don't really feel like, I know a lot of people take commissions at the show, but I always feel bad about drawing while people are walking around because or trying to talk to me or meet me at the table because some people have come a long way to go to a show, and the one or two people, if they actually want to meet you and you're sitting there drawing a sketch or concentrating on a commission, that takes time away from their experience, and that's not always the best. So I haven't really concentrated on taking commissions at the table. What I thought I might do is do a whole bunch of things ahead of time and then put them in a box and say, like, this is the $5 commission box of fan art, or this is the $10 commission box of fan art. And you just flip through, you get a unique piece, something like that. And that's something I might consider for next year. I don't think I have time to do that for SPX that's coming up, but we'll see. I might decide to go on an all-night bender and draw things forever and see if they'll sell. But I also have Puppy Cow, and Puppy Cow is always a good show stopper. Like, people pass by Puppy Cow and look at it, and the reactions I get are either, you know, people squee, or they look at it and it's like, what the fuck is that? So that always makes me laugh. I don't necessarily care if I sell them. I just like having Puppy Cow out there to kind of like see how people react to it. So that's always kind of cool. I think in general, if you have merchandise on the table that's unique, you know, I do think it's important to have books out there, and I do think it's important to have prints out there. Some people are really good with prints. I've never been good with prints. I can't sing that high, so prints covers are never good. But I've never been able to sell prints of my stuff. So I don't know. I don't do that, but I know a lot of people depend on prints to make their con experiences affordable. So prints are good, books are good, but also something unique that stands out. Like the plushies. Plushies are just interesting enough that not a lot of people have plushies out on the table. So anything that is unique that sets you apart from everyone else. Like maybe you do custom vinyl, like you paint Moneys or Dunnies or something like that. You know, put that on the table. And even if it's too pricey for people to buy, it'll at least make them stop and, you know, while they're walking by your table, they'll be like, oh, that's something I haven't seen. That's not a print. That's not a book. That's something unique. So if you have something in your repertoire that's a little bit different, I highly encourage you to put that shit on the table. Like, it could be a piece of jewelry or something like that, but something unique, because everybody else is going to have prints. Everyone else is going to have books. Everyone else is going to have these big fuck banners with shit that no one can see below their waists. So anything that kind of makes you stand out from the crowd is awesome at the table, because it disrupts people's perceptions as they're walking straight ahead. They'll see something out of the corner of their eye, like fuzzy puppy cow. What the fuck is that? So yeah, Baltimore Comic Con. Back to Baltimore Comic Con. I had a great time. It was a blast. It was awesome. I am planning on going next year. I have to. I really love this show. I like comic shows in general. The one horror story I have happened after Saturday night. So I'm driving on 695, which is the Baltimore Beltway, and I catch a flat. And I don't know what's going on. All I know is the car is all shaking for some reason. I'm like, holy shit, what the fuck is going on? I pull off to the side, and I'm trying to get to the next exit. But the car is smoking, and, you know, I don't know what's going on. It's been a long time since I caught a flat. So I pull over, look out, and the front driver's side tire has been blown. I'm like, okay, this is at least a problem I can take care of. Because the last time I was in a car and it shook, the engine mount had collapsed and the engine was grinding into the side of the car. And that happened on 495, which is fucking dangerous. So I changed the tire, put on the donut, and get on the road. And so I think I'm safe. And all of a sudden it starts shaking again, and I'm like, oh, what the fuck is going on? Fortunately, I pulled off next to a gas station, and I was like, okay, maybe I need to fill the donut with air. They had free air, pump up the donut, drive back out, and it's shaking again. I'm like, oh fuck, this car is gonna blow up. So I go back in, and the nuts were loose. So I fix the nuts, do all that kind of stuff. One thing about changing a tire on 695, so the DC Beltway sucks ass. I'm not gonna say that the DC Beltway is better than anything else, but at least 495 has a big fucking shoulder. Like, there's 3 lanes and then there's a big ass shoulder. So, you know, you can pull off, you have room to stick your butt out a little and not worry about getting hit by a car. 695, not so much. At least in the part that I was at. It's a 2-lane highway, rumble strip, a little nub, and then dirt. And then like a hill of grass. So I pull off as far as I can without tipping the car over, and the entire time I'm changing the tire, I'm thinking, oh shit, I'm gonna die. At least I called a friend so that they would know that if I didn't make it, they know where I died at. You know, as you get older, the what if game gets worse. So it's like, what if this happens? What if this happens? What if this happens? What if this happens? So I'm freaking out and I'm doing all that kind of stuff. Anyway, take it to the shop, and it turns out it was very fortunate that the tire blew, because if a different tire had blown, I would have cracked the nuts off, or cracked the bolts that hold the tire onto the car off, because when the shop went to change the tires, they snapped the fucking bolts, or they snapped it. They were so rusted, it just popped off. It was great. Other than that, the con was amazing. Apart from a little car trouble, Saturday was good. Sunday was a little better. Yeah, I highly recommend it. And I highly recommend you check your tires before you drive in the middle of the night. All right, this coming weekend is Small Press Expo in Rockville. It is Rockville. It is not North Bethesda. Fuck you. It is Rockville. At the Marriott Convention Center. I think it's the Marriott Convention Center. Admission is like $10 for a day, or I think 20 for the entire weekend, or something like that. It's real cheap. So if you're in the area and you want to meet a lot of good local and non-local indie cartoonists, Small Press Expo is awesome. Small Press Expo is the best place to just get to meet creators. It does kind of feel like a giant dealer room, because we're all cramped side to side, and we're all selling shit. But it's a lot of fun to just meet creators there. So come on down. We're doing an art fight Saturday night after the Ignatz Awards. So that should be really cool. And yeah, I'm going to stop now because I've been talking for way too long. All right. Check you later. Bye.